Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about security and how that relates to cloud computing. Cloud convenient is this awesome and really convenient feature that organizations can now use, though it does come with some security matters that have to be addressed. And I am going to use both the words security and privacy, though I like to think of them a little bit differently. Privacy is just keeping information from everyone except for that intended target or intended recipient, whereas security is similar, but it can be defined by the presence of some sort of adversary like a hacker or government surveillance or corporate surveillance. And that's just a good thing to keep in mind as we talk about security versus convenience and how that relates to cloud computing for both individuals and organizations. So, how is cloud computing advantageous to organizations? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and firstly is the reduction in IT cost, and less use of IT staff time can kind of be bundled in with that. And beyond that, a lot of organizations just don't have the technical capabilities to implement some of the services that we see nowadays in the cloud when we're talking about software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. There's some very dynamic things that can be done, and often smaller organizations don't have that technical knowledge that would allow them to successfully implement these sort of solutions, and the cloud allows them to do that. And even for bigger organizations that do have the technical chops to take care of these things, it just reduces the need for IT staff and IT time to implement these things, and it's awesome that you never have to worry about a lot of these infrastructures, platforms, and softwares running into bugs or problems because somebody's doing that for you. A cloud service provider is taking care of all that technical stuff for you. Another awesome advantage is the cost is very calculated. Instead of having to throw IT time at problems that arise and money at problems that arise, you just pay a cloud service provider either per year or per month, and they take care of all these things for you. So as a business, as an individual, as an organization, those are the main benefits of cloud computing. Okay, while cloud computing is this wonderful thing that organizations can use to supplement the services that they do have, there is certain security and privacy risks that have to be assumed and looked at. First and foremost, when you're signing up for cloud services, you want to check with that cloud service provider or CSP and decide if that company holds the same values that you have and that you're comfortable with them holding big chunks of your company's data and customer data, things like that. You just want to make sure that you and that CSP have the same sort of core values and are on the same page. So that's the first step. Then there's also some other security risks that you need to think of. First of all, these cloud service providers have servers that have your data somewhere else. It's outside of your organization's reach. It probably has to cross over the open internet at some point. This can be a problem. Data transferred over the open internet can be looked at by anybody, by hackers, by people with ill intentions. So a good question for your CSP is if they use encryption. Sometimes we call that HTTPS or SSL, and that's really important. So as as data is moving over the internet, it can't be read by adversaries of any type. So you want to make sure you do that. You probably want to ask your cloud service provider too if they keep that data encrypted when it gets to their servers. Some companies do, some companies don't. Some of the most privacy-minded companies will probably not only keep that data encrypted, but they won't keep copies of the encryption keys themselves, meaning that even if they wanted to read your data, they couldn't. So that means that only you hold the key, only you can hold the data. And now it is okay sometimes to, if you trust your cloud service provider, to let them keep that information on their servers unencrypted. But again, if those servers are hacked or broken into, that's clear text that any adversary can read. So that could possibly be a problem. It's also good to ask where your cloud service provider's servers live and in what country do they reside, because every country can have sort of different rules that govern how governments can look at that information. You can take a company like Google, for instance, and if they get a request from the government to the U.S. government to look at a certain set of files or your data, if they have a warrant, they are compelled to do that since they are a United States company. Now, if that company resides in another country, those laws may be different. So that is an important thing to look at, an important question to ask your cloud service provider. Other dangers include what about if those servers break? Can that data be lost? So you would want to ask a cloud service provider questions about that. How do they back up your data? Is it held in multiple places on multiple servers, which can be good for backup, but at the same time can be also bad for security because that's just another copy of your data lying around that adversaries can get their hands on. So these are big questions to think about before you go investing too much of your money and your data into cloud service providers. You need to think about the security of your data and the security of your customers' data.
Issues that surround the cloud and how they can affect individuals and businesses and organizations. We will look at legal issues with privacy as well as ownership and copyright. First, to understand the legal issues surrounding privacy in the cloud, let's take a look at some federal acts relating to privacy and some historical cases that help to shape our current views of privacy in the United States.